Hello, everyone.
Hey, so it's time. 4 o'clock,
Yeah,
Tuesday afternoon.
yes, definitely.
Yeah, are you ready?
I am ready. Maybe we should give a few more seconds for people to drop in, wrapping up their meetings before.
Yeah, sounds good. Do you already see some people dropping
I
in?
see people dropping in, yeah. Maybe if you're already in the call, let us know where you're from because we decided on this webinar so we could also host some of our cross border friends, colleagues. So please let us know. It would be excited to see where you're from.
And also, if you can hear us well,
Utrecht, okay, that's
Utrecht.
close.
Hey, I know who Utrecht is
Oh
by
yeah,
name.
that's a recognizable
Hey,
face.
and another
Cologne,
one.
Eindhoven,
Nice. Okay,
nice.
good one.
Yeah, that's my hometown, as some of you may know.
And I was born in Eindhoven, so a good city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the Eindhoven crowd.
Yes.
We can also do a webinar on Eindhoven.
And Zandam, my old hometown. Really nice.
Ah, okay, there's something here. Ah, Ting Ting is of course in Finland. I don't know how to pronounce that though.
Great. Well, we're
Right.
1 minute in. Should we start?
Yeah, let's just
Okay,
start.
good, great. Well, first of all, I am super excited that we have so many people joining because Lucy and I decided a couple of weeks, I think it was before Christmas, that we thought we see so many organizations and our teams are growing and we're moving through all these organizational structures. And we thought it's almost a shame to keep all the secrets just to ourselves. So we thought, you know what? Let's compile all these skills that we're seeing, but also maybe the skills that are lacking, and let's create a webinar to actually share what we're seeing. And I saw like the moment that we sent it out, there was already so many people who were interested in it. I think we are 200 in total now, so I
Yeah,
think we can definitely say it's a very hot topic.
yeah.
So welcome to you all. I know some of you already know us, know the company, so we'll give a brief introduction today, so not too much. But let me first go through what we are going to do today. And also, maybe a little bit of a disclaimer. This is the first time that we are doing a webinar, so if anything goes wrong, then I will blame it on the first time. So what is on the agenda today? So we have decided to divide it up into three parts. So first part is a little bit about like the developments that we see in journey management. The second part is really about you and the skills that we're actually seeing in journey leaders and what we also feel that will become more and more essential in the coming years. And then we have a little bit of a leap from you into the future. So, like, what skills do you have, and also what do you need for the future? So, well, that's what's on the agenda today. And you are here in the right place if you are or feel responsible for improving customer experience, but sometimes feel a bit stuck in making it work at scale. And it can be that you have moved or stepped into a new role, or maybe you're already in a team, or maybe just you just sense like, hey, my team has this great potential, but we feel a bit stuck in making it work. So we need some support to step up. And well, already said a little bit today. So the promise from us to you today is I really hope that you are going to walk away with like a clearer sense on what is missing or what is already there in playing your parts as journey leaders. And we're not going to cover too much theory, but it's really about the patterns that we see at our clients. So also know that obviously we're not at every company or every structure, but it's very much focused on what we are seeing. So the different shifts that are in the air and really focusing on making this work in practice because it's very easy to talk about customer experience in a broad sense. But this is very much more focused on the individual and what you can actually do already tomorrow to make this work better in practice. Then some practicalities. Well, screens are off because we're recording this session, so also be a little bit mindful of what you share in the chat. And first of all, we have a little bit of more of a. I will explain a little bit about like journey management maturity, give some context, and then we're going into an interactive part. And this is really interesting, I think, for most of you who are here. So if you want to get the most out of it, really limit distractions, just be in the zone. It will take a little while, but I will promise you that you'll have some very practical next steps from it. And you can take screenshots if you like, but if you share it, it would be really nice to give a mention. Since we are so many, we have a dedicated section for Q&As, but it's at the end. So feel free to like place your questions in the chat whenever you want. And we also have Joep here, who I didn't mention yet, but he is our moderator on the questions, and he will share it back to us at the end. So, your host of today. Well, some of you I already see, I know. Some of you are new here. But so I'm Evelina. I lead the customer-centric transformation track of our proposition within Essense. Started 10 years ago as a service designer and moved a bit more towards strategy, and now fully focusing on really making, well, customer centricity or CX at scale, making it work. And with me, I have Lucy.
Yes, nice to meet you. All in the webinar, and I also saw some familiar names and some people from familiar places. I'm Lucy. I am the lead journey management person at Essense. That means that I only work with clients to not map the customer journeys, but actually make it work and start managing them, proving the impact. I've been with Essense for about 3 years, and I've joined the same consultancy firm type in Denmark before, so some Scandinavian experience. Now we are becoming a little bit Scandinavian again since we became part of ADRA, but we're not going to talk about that today. But you will give us a brief introduction to who we are, where we come from.
So this is for all the new faces today. So we have been in business for 15 years. And what we do is that we organize, implement, and execute CX management for business impact. And what does that mean? It means, and I already referred to it a little bit, it's not talking about the fluffy side of customer experience, but really making this work for the business. So on one hand, we organize this customer-centric transformation and really looking at like, where are you today? Where do you want or need to be in the future? And then what are the practical steps that we can take to help you achieve that? So it's really the pre-requirements, let's say, to make customer centricity work. And then we have implementing data-driven journey management, so what Lucy is responsible for. And we also can say that this has become actually the vehicle to make customer centricity a real thing, because then you can really start to see the impact and really can start to see the change. And at the same time, we are also working on executing customer research and optimization, because in the end, that's where the magic happens. So that is where the changes in experience actually happen, and also where you can start to see and measure the impacts. Then some of the clients that we work for, well, I think some of you recognize your own companies on here, so welcome to you all. And what Lucy said, we're not going to introduce the full like scope of the agency, but if you want to know more, then just reach out to you. I'm very happy to take you through the rest. So moving into what we see as journey management, because I think like a lot of people know what journey mapping is, but what does journey management mean? And it's about continuously, consistently, and customer-centrically improving your service. And I think what most people know and recognize will be this like triple diamond, right? So it's like picking a topic or picking a journey, and then from there really trying to see like, okay, so what should we focus on? What do we have to create? What do we have to implement? And then I hope that you do this when you map journeys, is that you monitor the performance of the improvements. Now, there's a very singular way of mapping experiences, but if you want to do it more in a systematic way, then we actually move through a journey management wheel, which is much more focused on really proving the business impact of the work that you're doing. So doing this continuously and at scale or at more scale is called journey management. Now, this practice has been evolving quite a bit in the last 2 years. And I think it's interesting to just show you a little bit of what we're seeing in the different types of maturity with our clients. And I'll move you through all the different maturity levels in a bit, but just to give you an overview, is that we can actually say that like the CX game or the game that we play or the reason why we come to work is really has shifted in ways that we have never seen possible. So this like AI and tooling such as Telet and Dedu really accelerated what was never possible at scale. So I also think like if I would have started like 10 years ago, I would still be in this like CX world 1.0, as we would call it, because it was just almost impossible to make it work at scale, because you would need or like a CEO who made this like their full focus, and otherwise it would just not have been possible. But what we're seeing is like we are evolving, and I'm going to take you through like the 4 levels that we see and also what this means. And afterwards, I will also ask you like where do you see your organization in this levels of maturity. So it would be nice to see like where everybody is at. So CX 1.0, I think most of us know this, right? So it's like the mapping and the dashboarding. So what we see here is that it's really about like inspiring and bringing this voice of the customer to the table, giving the overview to stakeholders, sharing the insights, and from there creating then the opportunities, and maybe you even start to design a new solution. And what I said, it's like a how do you call it, like singular way of doing of improving experiences. And once you go to like CX 2.0, something starts to shift, because what we're doing here is that we're actually starting to structure all the end-to-end experience that a customer has with your company in more of a framework. And from the framework, we can start to prioritize which journeys are actually important to work on. And we are very much focusing on the impact of work. So you start to map at more scale with more people on more journeys at the same time. And then we're seeing companies that are shifted towards what we call CX 3.0. And here what you see is that, I also have to say that within these companies, customer centricity or CX is becoming like a board priority or something that's very important to the organization. So what you see here is that the organizational structures are changing. They have priorities, and then they send it out to their teams and saying like, hey, we find it super important to have new customers. Thus, we focus. We set a team on onboarding to really make sure that this experience is monitored and measured continuously. So what you see then is that instead of like just picking random journeys, is that you start on, for example, you have a team for onboarding, you have a team for reconsideration, and sometimes what you also see in some of the companies that we work for is that it's segment based. So then one is for business clients and one is for normal clients, let's say. So you really start to like link it to business priorities and cases and impacts. So this is also where, the interesting part is, because what is next? What comes after this? And we called it CX and beyond. And the reason that I didn't put a number to it yet is because we have not seen this like work at scale yet. Like companies are working towards it, but they have not achieved it fully yet. But what you see here is that it's really about more of like a predictive impact and optimizing for business growth. And how this works is that once you have more of a view on like the end-to-end experience, you can start to see like where is it going well, where is it going not so well, and then it starts to inform how you manage your business through the journeys. And what we see here, so the quality of the experience then steers the business to making strategies, making sure that you get capacity, and making sure that you actually move this journey management wheel, but on a much higher and more at scale level. And once you have that, you can really start to see journey management as the operational backbone to being customer centric. So I hope that makes sense a bit. So it's like going from very small mapping to doing it more at scale to having more focus, and then flipping it around a bit. It's like when you have so much information, you flip it around that you can actually start to influence the business.
Yeah.
Yeah? Am I still on time?
Yeah, you are totally on time.
Good. So, question to you guys. Where do you feel your organization sits at the moment? So we're starting a poll. And I hope you can see it.
I see some 2.0 is going. Oh, it's already changing. 1.0, 3.0. That's interesting. No one went to Beyond today yet.
No. Well, if you are at the Beyond, then I really want to talk to you. So yeah. I would love to hear all the best practices there.
No.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm giving you 5 more seconds to answer. Yeah? Shifting a bit. All right. So I think what we're seeing is that 44% of people here, 42% are at 1.0. That's quite interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And also a lot of room for growth. So so yeah. So stay tuned because there will be some interesting skills to start working on if you are stuck there and making it work at scale. So most of our clients operate between 1 and 3. And what I was saying, like this beyond, I know it's on the agendas, I know we're talking about it, but it's, well, they're not fully there yet. But we are helping a lot of clients in really moving from 1 to 2 and from 2 to 3. So that's very interesting to see. But what we are also seeing here is that on one hand, we talk about organizational change, right? But at the same time, there are also the people that are leading these projects, that are leading this change. And we are also seeing that the more you're on the like lower side of maturity, the more your job will be around designing journeys and mapping them and like creating having your circle of influence within the journeys. And the more the organization shifts, the more you are required or is demanded of you or well expected of you to be more of a leader because you get higher up in the trees. So I think that's a very interesting shift that we're seeing. And well, needless to say, we have peeked into some kitchens and there are also some patterns that we see here. So we talked about like when it goes well and when you move up, but what we also see with the CX community and designers and all the people that we work for is that a lot of the time the projects fail. And what we mean with failing is that it's not really bringing the impact or the change. Yeah, so never seeing the impact of the work in measurable change. That was the nice way of saying this. So failing is not that you fail as a person or in your projects or that you didn't make like the nicest and the most inspiring and the greatest things for your customer, but that you didn't make any measurable change. And we see patterns at our clients. So we see that journey managers, I'll just call it the people that are working on journeys as journey managers today, they're a bit stuck in like this customer first language or don't get like a priority on capacity, IT capacity, for example. They struggle to influence the right people to really make these projects move. They have a limited network within the company. They often feel that they have no priority and then stop at this word, you have no priority. They're missing a business focus and some of their authority is missing. And most of the time there's no mandate in really changing things. So automatically you're a bit stuck in this like inspirational part and not really this changing the business part. So the root cause of why this happens is business fluency. And the business fluency is really about like this ability to understand how an organization actually works and act in a way that makes sense within this reality. It's a very long sentence. But what it actually says is like the moment that you don't understand how decisions are made, how mandate works, how influence works, how choices are made, then you will never really be able to really move the needle for your projects. So you have to tie into what they are doing. And the way that you can see that is that you have to work on this ability to translate like those ideas into decisions, those decisions into outcomes in a language that the organization understands. And now this might feel a bit far from your bed, as we would say in Dutch. And it's super normal because usually what we also see is the people that we work with are designers, are researchers, are process managers, are sometimes change managers, product owners. And like in its essential, you don't really think about like, okay, but how does it then work with like strategic business planning or the interest of my stakeholders or this contextual adaptability or even profit and loss or thinking like the CEO or even the CFO. So it's normal. And therefore it's not really surprising, but as this practice matures, expectations also shift. So what we are seeing is there the moment that you move into more mature journey management practices, you go from designing to more leading. You go from experience driven to more like system driven, like how do we change the system? More from reactive to more proactive approach to how you want to achieve your goals. and also most importantly for these ideas and inspiration to actual outcomes. So I'm going to conclude my part, but we can definitely say that the game has changed, and the more structured it gets, the more governance it needs, the higher up the tree you need to operate, and thus the more personal leadership it requires. And with leadership, I also mean your leadership mindset, how you want to operate within companies. And it's really about like becoming much more strategic on how you're going to reach your goals. And for example, there's no priority for you. How can you operate within it, and how can you still create change with your projects? And also in that, if you want to operate beyond this touchpoint level, you also need to step up your game. And I mean that in the nicest way. Because new ways of working require new skills, and teams have to move from like these practitioners, inspirators, bringing the voice of the customer to the table, to really to change makers. And we are also seeing like these new journey leaders rise, and those are the ones that are really on their way to confident and lead CX skill. And there are some skills they hold.
Yes, thank you for those trends. Now let's make it a bit personal to see how you can actually move your company the good way. So what we've seen in our work over the years is that there are 9 key skills for next gen journey leaders. We brainstormed together and narrowed it down, like what are the 9 things you need to be able to do if you want to lead a journey and not just design or manage it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask you not to grab ChatGPT. I know we are probably all very used to it now, but I'm going to do an old school thing and ask you to grab old school pen and paper. I'm also okay with a notepad on your computer. Because in the upcoming minutes, I'm going to actually help you to find out how you can grow as a journey leader. So what we will do is I'm going to go through these 9 skills one by one. And after I go through every skill, I'm going to tell you a bit about a brief explanation of what it is, but mostly what you will notice if you don't master this skill versus if you do master this skill. And then I'm going to ask you to rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 5. So I'm going to show you a scale and ask you to give yourself a score. And at the end of it, so please bear with me until the end, I will give you your total score. We've transferred that into a next step you can take to grow as a journey leader. So I hope you sit upright and join me for this part, because this is where you will learn how you can grow. And the first 5 skills will focus on practical skills. So without further ado, let's move to the first one. And that one is, I always say this, if you know me, then you will get a bit tired of me saying this, but it's about scoping. So that means we of course have the customer life cycle, but we need to be able to choose where we focus to make an impact. So make a proper scope and a team that can help you to achieve the goals within that scope. What you will notice if you don't really master the skill yet is that executives are actually going to refuse to resource the journeys that drive business success until they fix the real problem. So they'll tell you that they're going to fix their growth issues first, or first make their organization efficient, and then they'll staff your journey projects. But they're actually going to fail to see that they're starving the best solution they have, and that is this journey-centric approach. If you do master this skill, you really see that journey leaders are mapping every customer friction point directly to either lost revenue or wasted operational spend. And that really makes this customer empathy that you bring into the journey as a non-negotiable business strategy. Really helps you to take this step to get attention from leadership. So, time to rate yourself. You can see a scale here from 1 to 5. So if you are in 1 in the beginner phases of this skill, you will notice that your journey will be treated a bit as a ghost project, where you don't get a lot of resources and you're being a little bit ignored by leadership. Whereas if you really nailed the skill of scoping, you really see your journey will be considered a must-win battle by board level. So now it's time to rate yourself between 1 and 5. I'll give you a short moment of silence to do that. All right, let's move to the next one. Second skill. Let us know if this exercise works for you, if you need more time. The second skill is about journey research, and especially those of us who have done followed an education that's about design or user research or customer centricity, you will be familiar with the skill of doing research. But as we are maturing in the journey management practice, we are also evolving the way we do research. So if you're doing it the old way and your company is mostly doing it the old way, you will notice that customer research is treated as this rare event, like it happens once or twice a year, where you get these really generic high-level summaries of what the customer experiences, such as customers just want it to be easy. Well, thank you, but we know that customers don't want it to be hard unless we're putting them into a roller coaster, right? So these types of research are typically delivering the safe observations while they fail to reveal the real emotions that spark innovation and the interesting hooks to create solutions for. Journey leaders who really nail this skill will really feel that this customer research is this moment of radical intimacy. And they will talk a bit more about the context of their customer's life apart from the task that they are doing with your organization. So you won't just talk about banking, but you will talk about what's happening in the environment of the customer while they are banking. And then, of course, you will cleverly use AI to not sit days and days to write these great insights, but AI will help you to write insights past generic fixes. So, time to rate yourself again. If you're in 1, you are probably still guessing what your journey looks like and what your customer is experiencing based on internal assumptions. But if you're in 5, you will really feel that this research becomes a best friend level of intimacy, and you will be using AI to uncover these non-obvious insights with that create unfair competitive advantage. So, time to give yourself a score again. All right. 3rd skill. You clear? Give us a moment. Our slides are not moving. Yes. Yes. All right. The 3rd skill is about data-driven journey building. Of course, we would like to move our journeys from office art to actually be data-driven and live. So what you will notice if you don't build journeys in a data-driven way, executives, again, are going to dismiss your journey insights based on a single anecdote they know or a feeling they have had. So they will keep sharing the stories that their nephews had, or they will say, but when I went through this, it was very different. So they're going to reduce your professional skill a bit and reducing your customer research to a debate where the loudest opinion wins, which is often the executives. If you really nail this skill, you will blend hard data with real human stories to build live and dynamic journeys. And they will really bring the experience alive and backing them up with real numbers. And then your journey shifts from one-time office art to a continuous steering system for the business. So, time for rating again. If you're in 1, then opinions are probably your only data that's being used to make decisions on journey level. But if you're in 5, journeys are really becoming this undisputed authority, and then they will be so true and feel so real that no one dares to bring the nephew stories again into the room when you're talking about the journey experience. Time to rate yourself again. All right. 4th skill. We're already past 1/3, so bear with me. Right now, we're at creating business cases and measurement plans. And again, this is one, if you know me, you will know that I will always talk about this one because I really like putting numbers to the impact that we're making. If you are still in the old way of doing this, you will definitely have this wish list of ideas in your Figma files, in your Miro boards, or wherever that would actually win the customer's heart. So they might be really good ideas, but they're going to die a slow death because we can't really translate love into a language that finance understands. So the CFO is not going to listen because during work hours, they talk numbers and not love. If you master this skill, you will be building bulletproof business cases that tie every feature you would like to build directly to a KPI and the potential impact it's going to make. And you're going to feel that implementation is not this debate that you keep on having, but it's becoming a no-brainer. So it's going to be much easier for you to get stuff implemented. So again, are you having wish lists somewhere in Miro? Let's be honest about this one. We all have a small wish list. Or are you really already at a point where you're providing this guaranteed roadmap for growth, how you will improve the journey, what impact can be expected and when, and therefore making the things you want to implement low risk decisions? Rate yourself again. All right, let's move to the final practical skill, which is about implementation guidance. And for most of us who have been educated perhaps as service designers, this is new for us, that we really need to stick around until the solutions are live. If you do this the old way, you might be really good at facilitating a workshop and having all the sticky notes on the wall. But afterwards, you will probably toss over these solutions over the fence as summaries and brainstorm notes that are not really tangible for product teams to pick up. So they won't really feel the sense of urgency to actually do something about these solutions. And if they feel the urgency, they're not going to know how to start doing it because they cannot work from a post-it note. If you notice, if you have obtained this implementation guidance skill, you will be really close to UX designers and developers to forge solutions that are actually buildable. So you will really be in this triangle and continuously talking to them how to get it live. And you will also refuse to step away from the journey project until the solution is live for customers. But let's also not forget about the staff. If you make changes in processes, you need to educate your colleagues how they should use it and how they should change their behavior to work with the new solution. So, how are you on implementation guidance? Are you handing over ideas and hoping for the best? So you're kind of, if you already had a wish list in the previous one, are you now sometimes passing off wish lists and then never speaking to your development team again? Or are you really this owner of the journey from the moment that it's mapped until the solutions are live and the impact is realized? So how far does your implementation guidance go? Please rate yourself again. Okay, those were the 5 practical skills. And journey leader kind of reveals it. But if you want to be a journey leader, you need to be able to lead, right? So there are 4 skills that we came down to that we call leadership skills. And we had a bit of a debate on what the titles of each of the skills should be. So we tried our best to capture, like, leadership is such a broad term. What is it then exactly that you need to be able to do if you're a journey leader? So I will take you through these 4 skills, and then we will see what your growth path is as a journey leader. The first one is about cross-functional leadership. Also, if you have heard of breaking silos, which I actually assume that everyone in this webinar will have heard of, you need to be able to break the silos. So you need to be able to lead cross-functionally. If you're not quite good at this yet, you will feel the friction of the whole journey. So you might be sitting around with a map where you see issues all over the journey, but since you will feel stuck by the product walls, you will be polishing a step, like a small part of the journey that you can influence, but where you know that the real problem is. Whereas if you master this skill, you have redefined your role as organizational glue, and you move across boundaries, silos fearlessly. So you don't really care what the team and the org chart looks like. You just want to get the solution for the customer, the best solution for the customer. So journey leaders who are good at cross-functional leadership don't mind breaking any silos. So do you still feel a bit restricted by your product team? Then you might be more in the beginner phases of this skill. Whereas if you have no fear of breaking boundaries that are in the org chart, you are more towards number 5. Please do rate yourself again. I'm really curious what you guys are rating yourselves to, actually, but this is a self-assessment, so it's not we're not here, so it's all up to you. Let's go to skill number 7, facilitation. This is one that many journey designers are actually already quite good at, and they really enjoy doing. The practice of design also likes to get creative, but being a journey leader requires a bit more than just creative facilitation, right? So if you are not so great at facilitation, you will probably act as a polite host rather than a guide in the workshop, and you will really let workshops drift into this aimless debate and losing control a bit of what the goal of achieving the goal that you intended to have. And what is going to happen is when people leave your workshop, they're going to feel post-it fatigued, as we call it, and they're not going to be inspired for the next step. Whereas if you are really good at being a journey leader and in the facilitation skill, you will feel like you own the room. You will make sure everyone's heard. So you're not going to dictate everyone what to do, but you're going to guide people more and be the expert. And then you really are going to be able to what used to feel as the messy meetings without clarity into an engine for real world change. So do you even avoid the spotlight? So do you not like to facilitate large groups or be in front of large groups? Then you might have some tasks to do in this skill. Whereas if you really nailed this, you are actually going to enjoy the messy middle. So you enjoy having big groups and not knowing where it's going to go because you're going to feel the confidence that you will tackle that by guiding them. Do rate yourself again. All right, we have 2 more skills to go. And the next one is, I think, yeah, we had a bit of a debate what to call this, but we ended up, you can call it politics, but you can also call it organizational diplomacy is what we ended up with. We all know, especially those of you, and I've seen quite a few in the call, if you work in a large organization, you're going to have to be diplomatic in moving people and making sure that people do what you want. And this is actually a big one. If you want to break silos and increase your influence across departments, you need to be really good at this skill. If you are not really there yet, you will feel a bit like you're walking on eggshells around difficult personality and complex politics. So you will feel stuck and you feel like every time you meet someone new, you're hitting a wall because you don't know how to influence them. And you will see that in your planning. So your roadmap is going to stall and your progress will stall constantly. Whereas if you are really good at this, you will master strategic empathy. And the way we explain that is that you really show interest in someone and then weaponize that to get them on board with you. And sometimes we say, you know from everyone what their fastest way to get a promotion is, and you use that to get them on your side, so they will feel like working with you on the journey will get them a promotion. That's of course a bit exaggerated, but it's good to be aware of these kinds of politics. So if you're still in 1, whenever you hear a no, you will take that for an answer and then let progress stall. Whereas if you're in 5, you will really be this master ally builder, and you will be actually a bit popular because people will feel like, hey, if I join that journey leader, I will probably get a promotion faster, or my work will be more enjoyable, or I'll hit my KPIs faster if I work with the journey leader. So do rate yourself again. Okay, it's time to move to the final skill. And this one is a bit of an open door, as we would say in Dutch. We should have learned the English sayings for these ones, but bear with us in our Dutch language. Effective communication is, for a leader, very important. And especially if you, it's sad that if you are a journey leader and you're actually doing great work. So imagine being really good in all the practical skills, the first 5 that we talked about. But every time you reach a milestone there, you're going to feel a bit like having a quiet heartbreak because no one's really going to listen to you and you're not really managing to move the room. So what you will feel a bit after you present something or after you hosted a workshop or had a meeting is that people will probably treat your work as just another report of insights to file away and never to think about again, which is a shame, especially if you really build your journeys in a data-driven way. If you're really good at this, you will feel the rush of strategic storytelling and you will be this lightning bolt and shaking the audience. So whenever you present something or whenever you host a meeting, you will really make people feel like, oh, we cannot do nothing about this. So everyone will be really easy to move to action because they really felt like you shook them a bit in their brains that it needs to be different. So final time to rate yourself. Are you the master of this lightning bolt? So do you really know how to make people move? Or do you feel like you're shouting into the void every time you're giving a presentation? So after you presented something, there are no questions in the chat, people say thank you and they hang up the call. Then you might be more in the beginning phases of this skill. All right, those were all 9 skills. What we would like you to do for now is add up all your scores. And for those of you who can do that without a calculator, I'm really proud of you. That seems to be a harder skill these days now that we do have ChatGPT and internet. But just add the sum, make a sum of all 9 skills to calculate your total skill score. And what we will do after you did that, we would like to provide you with a next step of a goal that you can have for the upcoming year. I will give you a few seconds to do that. All right, I'm going to show you the final scores. So if you are between 1 and 9, we would like to encourage you to start mastering the spark. So you need to learn how to build up a really good journey with good research that will move the room, where you can shake the audience with a good journey at first. Whereas if you're between 10 and 18, you might already have this good journey, but you need to work on mastering this alliance. So you need to start connecting your journey to business value, and also start diving into how to become good at stakeholder management, or organizational diplomacy, as we called it. So really sharpen your negotiation techniques to convince others and start improving your storytelling. If you're already in 19 to 27, you might already you have a good journey and you have some stakeholders that you can work with to improve this journey. You actually need to step up a bit and start to master this managing the squad. So managing this team of cross-functional people that you will then move, and together you will shape how to improve the journey. So you need to already step up and become more of a leader. And you will definitely need to work on bridging the gap to development and UX. So please do include them in the team you will lead. If you're already there, so you work closely with UX and development, you have a good team and a squad that you're leading, you know how to move them, you need to start mastering the narrative. So you might have managed to implement some small changes. So now it's your time to make some bolder moves. Maybe you can make the case for some bigger innovations, or bigger steps you want to take. So start using this lightning bolt and get people to dare to take bigger decisions that will actually improve the experience. And the final one, between 37 and 45, if you're one of those people, I would really like to meet you. I would really like to meet all of you, but especially if you're there, you need to start mastering a movement. So you might be ready to become the manager of the journey managers or the journey leaders. So you have mastered all of these skills. So now it's your time to teach others. And really, we need more of you to lead the pack and pave the way to scale journey management. Maybe we can do, because now I've become really curious, can we have a quick poll on where you ended up? I'm really curious to see where you are. We have someone ready to master the squash. Okay, most of the people seem to end up between 19 and 27. There's one person who is ready to master the movement. I'm really excited to meet you, if we haven't already met. Some people are already ready to master the narrative. Really interesting. Most of you are somewhere in the middle. So I really hope that this will provide you with some directions, also reflecting back upon the skills that we've shared, what you should work on to take the next step as a journey leader. All right, that was my rating exercise.
Nice.
Yeah.
Loved it. Yeah. So yesterday during the dry run, I also did it myself, and I ended up not in mastering the movement yet. So
No. Oh.
No. So I also still have to have some improvement points to work on. But yeah. So what does this tell you? If we've talked about like journey management at scale, we have talked about like what we see in organization, and also like what is our identity, or what do we connect with, and how do we relate to our customers and the profession that we took, and are we then ready to move it towards more of a business focus. But I think what we can say, also after looking at working with a lot of really nice people and also really great organizations, is that if you want to scale journey management, your skills need to scale at the same pace. So it's really an invitation to also own like this inner CXO, as I would call it. So, and with a CXO, I mean like a chief experience officer or customer officer or however you want to call it. But it's really about this question, and I also want to give to you as an inquiry for, well, think about it in the next week. Like, who do I need to be to lead at this level? What do I need to work on to get where I aim or want to be?
Mhm.
And with that, you don't have to do it alone, but we also wanted to give a little bit of a sneak peek to our Journey Management Academy, because we thought we see so many, skills, patterns, things to work on. We're working with this with our clients as well. So we have started a Journey Management Academy, and it's really about this focus of like mapping outputs to managing outcomes. And we're not going into it for too much. If you have questions about this, then Joep can tell you more. But just to give you a quick overview on the training program, is that we really look at these 9 skills, and that's also what we helped you move through them in seeing, okay, what is it that you're missing, and then have very tailored trainings into those skills and making it practical on how to make it work in organizations and in the organizational context. And with that, we are at the end of this webinar. So we have some space.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can have a few questions here. I see one that came to us a bit earlier. So, how can you make the difference between mapping and management measurable? Oh, that's a really good question. So this is more like how can you? I think the question is how can we feel if we're still mapping or if we're managing journeys?
That's a
good
very
question.
interesting question.
Yeah.
I think like the main because I can't see the chat on my side
Yeah.
because then the screen moves. But I think like the difference between mapping. So mapping is really in the experience. So maybe you're lower in the experience in the experience of the customer. So the way that we look at it, we have frameworks, and maybe for some is also nice. Maybe in next webinar we can talk about this more. But journey frameworks. So you have different levels. Level 1 is more like the life cycle, and then once you go into more details, you get to a journey map that you can start to improve, and there you can see the results. And the moment that you have more of these journeys adding up to this life cycle journey is when you really can start to measure more like the effects of your management. That is, I think, the way that I would answer it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. And I was also thinking about this direction of how can you then see if your organization is doing that. I think the difference should be if you're still in the mapping phase, you're probably mapping it, you're presenting it, but it's mostly your journey, you're owning it. So you're the only one looking at it. Whereas if you're actually managing from the journeys, you will pull up the map in more and more meetings to see, okay, but how are we now performing? Where are solutions? And you're really using it as this decision guide to steer. So if, well, let's not record all of our meetings because that would become a mess. But if we would have some way of like getting these signs measured of how often is the journey map used to take a decision, then you're starting to move to management.
You're giving us all the difficult questions.
Yeah, it was a difficult question. I would be interested also to think about that more in later. Are there more questions in the chat that you would like to, something you've been curious about, or maybe a thought that you had about one of the 9 skills, something that you noticed personally in growing in one of the skills? This is a question we've had before. I will. Let's take it. How do you get the time from a skeptical leadership to get time to map the journey and then use it? Often the focus has shifts once we created a great one from research. So I guess the question is about the journey is mapped. We got the resources to do proper research and to map it properly, but then leadership is kind of ready to abandon it.
Skeptical, yeah.
Yeah, they're skeptical.
So then my question back would be, like, how much effort did you put into making the case for these great insights or these great problems, and what would it then like give them as a benefit? Because they're skeptical because well, it's an assumption, but I think like skepticism most of the time comes from not being able to make something like hard in data or hard in impact or hard in dollars, euros, however you like depending on where you are. Um, so it would be very interesting to understand a bit more about like this
Yeah.
skepticism, what sits underneath it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and also the putting the dollars to it or the euros or wherever you are, I think it's also going back to this translating to a language that finance can understand. So maybe it's good to sit with your leadership and ask them what are your three biggest headaches you have right now, and then make sure that the next time you speak to them after you've translated whatever is in your journey map to how that will solve their headaches, because they typically leadership is not educated to work from journeys and innovate from there, so you can help them to make that connection and putting the dollars to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe also just a last one. It also depends like how big the scope of your journey was, right? Sometimes we come in and we say, yeah, we have to like digitize everything, and then also skepticism can start to grow. So it's also about like how small, how practical, how measurable, how actionable are you making your insights for them to not feel this sense of skepticism, because usually it's, yeah, we are all in business to make money in some way and make our customers happy, and our customers are the most important ones. So there should be something there that helps them move away from this feeling that they're currently having.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we can do a final question and then we can send everyone off to have a nice evening. At least if you're in the same time zone as we are. This one I'm gonna toss it to you because it's about someone working at a bank. So
Interesting. Yeah.
how do you manage and deal with shifting priorities? So, for example, one moment the journey and the customer is important, but the next moment compliancy and law is more important and everything stalls. And then this person is trying to create a business case that involves both, but it's challenging. That's a really tough question.
Okay,
Yeah,
wait,
come
I'm
and read
going
it
to
again.
shift over and read this
Yeah.
again. Yeah. Okay. So you had a priority, you had a journey that you were working on, and people were saying, hey, this is important. And the next moment, like something happens and everything shifts and everything stalls.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is most, then maybe because I can't fully answer it back, even though I'm working in the same space at the moment, but the question is a bit to you is like, what is most challenging about this, and why is there no way to maybe connect it to the thing that they find most important? Because compliancy, laws, there most of the time there's something in there as well in making something, well, maybe you can move on both tracks, and even if we have to move through this system of becoming compliant, that there's still something in there where we can still improve it for the customers. So yeah, looking for a win-win.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, and I'm also thinking of this is very common for banks, right? Like compliance, we all want our banks to be compliant. So it is something that you need to deal with if you're in banking. So sometimes, especially if you're asking for development capacity, it's good if you're coming up with solutions to, on the one hand, have solutions that require development capacity, make the solid business case, and look for this win-win. The win-win can also be compliance
in
changes.
a customer-centric way.
Exactly. That's very hard to do. But also having some process changes that would help the customer in the back of your pocket. So when progress stalls, you can still improve, but then not by developing something technically, but actually having something changed on customer service side or something. So sometimes when I know that the IT backlogs can shift quickly for compliance reasons, this is something that I'd like to do in balancing the types of solutions. So not sure if that's possible in your situation, but maybe we can chat more about that later. All right, so that was, I think, our last question. Let's wrap it up. And I would actually like to end this with a note, but not before I introduce you. I haven't seen Joep. He's a really nice guy. He's sitting with us today, but he has made this webinar work. So thanks a lot, Joep. But also, if you want to know more, learn more about the Journey Management Academy, or get the slides or something else, please reach out to Joep. You can write his email down here. It's a bit tough to pronounce in English, I know, but it's not hard to type. And also, you can find it on our website. And then I would like to end actually with something to a call to you, because this webinar was we really thought of as this invitation for you to reflect upon where you are as a leader now and how you can step up to really to channel your inner CXO. So for example, those of you having the ambition to become a CXO, channel it today and think, what can I do tomorrow? Which of these skills can I grow in to move in this direction? And that way you will really help your organization to scale journey management. So I guess that's what we would like to conclude with. And thank you so much for today. We were excited to have you from Essense. We're also excited to invite you to again to our office the next time. And please always reach out if you want to talk more about channeling your inner CXO. Thanks all.
Thank you.